Tonight on CTV News, the council takes another step forward with freedom campers. NASA's Sophia mission is near completion, but what have they found so far? And is daydreaming about the rebuild good for productivity?
Broadcasting across Canterbury, from the CTV studio, this is First at 5.
Kia ora, good evening, welcome to CTV News, now streaming live online at ctv.co.nz. So where should they go? The council's new freedom camping bylaw has taken another step forward, likely to be enforced across Banks Peninsula as well, limiting the places travellers can camp out around the city. It's a step forward for residents around the city, with a bylaw gaining traction to help stop freedom campers. The Strategy and Finance Committee all unanimously voted to proceed with a draft regulation plan to stop the increase of travellers making council and public places their home. Banks Peninsula Councillor Andrew Turner, who is part of the committee, is all for the changes.
Which in my world is good news. There's a lot of good stuff in there, and we certainly welcome hearing what the people have got to say about it.
And Councillor Glenn Livingston is too, with New Brighton being a hotspot for campers.
Does it look quite reasonable? With bylaws, you have to provide for activities, so you may, personally or pick up from the community some areas of resistance, but with any activity, whatever it is, you need to provide for it.
Turner says it's been an ongoing problem for many areas in Banks Peninsula, with work being done 2 years ago to help solve the issue of freedom campers parking up.
We've had problems in the past in Akaroa and French Farm and Wainui in particular, where in the summertime we get large numbers of people in camper vans, and some of those are self-contained camper vans, some of them are not self-contained, which obviously can be quite unpleasant.
And he says the main problems are with short-term stays around the coastline.
Parking around the boat ramp area, so legitimate users of that boat ramp area in the boat parking spaces weren't able to leave their trailers when they went out boating for the day and that sort of thing. Although in the last summer we've seen a bigger problem at French Farm and Wainui. Again, numbers of campers along those foreshores there, people staying for a number of days, meaning that when you've got people going out just for a day trip, there hasn't been parking space for those people.
Signs were put up, but now a new monitoring program is likely to take place over 26 weeks. With a fine likely to be enforced for those at a cost of $200. But nothing is confirmed until it goes through the council chamber.
It would be good to think that even with a bylaw in place, we can deal with this from a compliance point of view rather than an enforcement point of view. I'd like to think that we use the bylaw as the way of making it clear what the rules are and an expectation that people will go by those rules, that we would look for compliance with the rules, and only in exceptional cases, I would hope, would we get to a point where we were needing to enforce by way of that fine.
And Glenn Livingston agrees.
Yeah, well, that obviously is the stick approach. So the carrot is providing these places, the stick is that compliance enforcement angle, and you still have to have that. But you really do want a positive kind of proactive approach if you can.
Late last year, freedom campers started making themselves at home in New Brighton, with many residents upset with their new neighbours. And although Livingston says it's only a matter of time for change to happen around the city, he doesn't want to see them gone for good.
I think being Christchurch, we want to send out a yes, not just a no. We actually want to welcome people to the city. They're freedom campers, but sooner or later they do actually spend somewhere, cafes, bars, etc. So you do want to put out the welcome mat as well. And it is a rock and a hard place. You've got the peace of the community, especially in this case over freedom camping, and you've got your responsibilities as a council to ensure that activity is provided for and getting a balance.
The plan is to have the regulations in place before Christmas, ready for the summer period, meaning campers will have to pack their bags and move on. The draft document will enter a full council meeting next month. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. A judge has sentenced a stalker to community service today, saying a prison sentence wouldn't be long enough.
A stalker has avoided a third prison sentence despite causing what the victim said was mental torture and fear for her and her children's safety. Today at the Christchurch District Court, 44-year-old Tony Chand was sentenced to 100 hours of community work, 12 months supervision, counselling, and to pay $1,000 to the victim. In sentencing, the judge said he wanted to send a strong message for Chan to stay away from the victim, but even if he imposed a maximum prison term, it would see him released in 6 weeks. The victim now has a protection order against Chand, which, if broken, will land him in jail, the judge said. The court heard Chand met the victim on an online dating site and had a short relationship. The woman ended it after 2 weeks when she found him possessive and controlling. Chand then bombarded her with more than 80 text messages over 8 days and stalked her by driving past her home and workplace and confronting her near work. He was also seen at her house. The court heard he didn't get the message even after the woman screamed at him and called the police. Chand was jailed for 3 years in 2007 for burglary and assault with intent to commit sexual violation. He broke into the house of a woman who had earlier told him she wanted nothing to do with him and attacked her. In 2010, he was jailed for 6 months for stalking and terrorising his ex-girlfriend by text. He was assessed at the time as a high risk of reoffending.
NASA's Space Telescope has come back to Earth, nearly completing its winter research here in Christchurch. So just what did they learn this time? Chelsea Daniels reports.
The NASA Sophia aircraft is finishing its trips this weekend with just 3 flights left. The team welcomed both the US and German ambassadors to New Zealand to tour the aircraft today.
The German ambassador was really impressed about the capabilities of the telescope, what it can do, how it can move in the aircraft, but also from the science instrument. We had the German science instrument on board at the moment, and so she was really impressed what it can do.
And our ambassador, like I had mentioned, he was also very impressed and wants to take a seat on one of our flights next time we come out. So that would be really interesting to have him on board.
The team ran into a rough patch at the beginning of the campaign, encountering tough weather conditions and having trouble with an engine part, ruling out 2 of the 18 proposed flights. But all in all, Ed says they had a successful trip here to Christchurch.
Since then, we've been hitting all of our flights and had really no major hiccups.
One of the main focuses of the Sophia campaign was the Pluto occultation.
Well, it was really interesting to see how we can get into Pluto's shadow, and then from this shadow that the scientists are able to see the atmosphere of Pluto.
An occultation in astronomy terms is where the planet comes in line of a distant star, and the light from that star is used to analyse the planet and its outer layers. In order to properly see this occurrence, it was important for the aircraft to fly directly into Pluto's shadow.
5 hours before we actually hit the shadow, we had another course change, and we had to go 227 kilometers north of where we were on time, and that for us was the real challenge, and we made it perfectly.
There have been worries among the science community that Pluto may not have an atmosphere anymore, but the team were able to prove this theory wrong.
We were able to see that there is still indeed an atmosphere, which tells the scientists a lot about the planet itself.
Discovered in 1930, Pluto has perplexed scientists for more than 85 years. Recently, the New Horizons probe reached Pluto after being launched nearly a decade ago, and the guys say it's a pretty exciting time.
To watch these people who launched this nine years ago, and it's just reaching its destination, and to hit it perfectly is just unbelievable. So, and the images that they're sending back are just incredible. Seeing the ice and the moons and some of the formations on there, I think is going to make these people have data to study for years to come.
The research from the Pluto occultation made by Sophia will enter a new pool of information we now know about Pluto.
The NASA New Horizons mission, the timing of that was just perfect with this occultation. So obviously the 9 years it took to get there and as close as they are to this planet, and some of the images that we're seeing coming back is going to tell us a lot.
The team already have sufficient funding for next year, so we'll be sure to see Sophia back in Christchurch next winter. Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
And still to come here on CTV News, are seeing rebuild pictures good or bad for us? Welcome back. Just what effect does negative and positive pictures of the rebuild have on the Canterbury's psyche? Well, university research has put it to the test, finding some surprising results. Here's Chelsea Daniels.
Research from the University of Canterbury suggests that positive images of the Christchurch rebuild are a time travel daydream machine and more distracting than useful. The team crowdsourced images via their Facebook page, Symbols of Recovery, calling for the public to send them photos of what they found positive and negative about the Christchurch rebuild. Psychologist Professor Deke Helton and others have been examining the effects of the Christchurch recovery on people and have been surprised with the results.
If all of a sudden I showed you a picture of a snarling dog, your eyes would kind of go to it, and that draws you away from the task. But we didn't know exactly what these images would do because they're positive and negative, but in a more subtle way, like a personally meaningful way, whereas extremely arousing things are threatening to everybody. If I show you a snarling dog, it's arousing to anybody regardless of where they live, kind of thing. Whereas the images from Christchurch are much more about you personally.
He says that the positive images of the rebuild resulted in participants of the study becoming unresponsive to the set task.
We took those images and used them in a real task to figure out which ones would be most distracting. So what we did is we had 3 groups of people do either positive images from the rebuild, negative images from the rebuild, or control stimuli, which were the pictures all cut up and looked like confetti. And they did that while they were doing a test that required them to pay attention. And we found that the positive images were the ones that actually made them most disengaged from the task.
The negative pictures of the rebuild were basically ignored by participants. Have we become desensitized to negative images of Christchurch?
Most people, most of the time, unless it's an immediate threatening negative image, meaning it's like something that can get you, you just dismiss it. It's like you've seen it, you don't care about it. I mean, it maybe affects you in subtle ways, but it's like it doesn't really draw your attention that much. You just discount it and move on. It's not immediately relevant to you, I guess is the way to put it.
Nicola Hancock, who arranged the study as part of her master's degree, says it was important to have the study very Christchurch-based, with all participants being from the city.
Something like 90% of them had actually been here for the earthquake, so the images had to be personally meaningful to the population. So rather than just using images that, as Deke was talking about, appeal or don't appeal to everyone, they had personal meaning.
So these little sticky things measure the oxygenation of the frontal cortex, letting them study the brain's activity.
So instead of just asking people if they were engaged in the task, you're actually measuring their brain activity, so you can tell if they're engaged in the task.
And in true Jared fashion, I decided I'd give it a go.
Slightly out of there.
Does it mean I'm gonna oh my god, what's happening?
You're good.
Am I about to have a heart attack?
No, it didn't mean that I was going to have a heart attack, just that I hadn't placed it on my head properly. The team hopes the results will aid in future marketing strategies for Christchurch and are looking to do more studies in the future. Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
Good on you, Chelsea. Well, would you expect to see a ballet performance at your local mall? Well, today some local kids got up close and personal with members of the Royal New Zealand Ballet. It's a dream for many kids around the world to become performers on stage, and a group of young Canterburyans were lucky enough to be a part of a workshop to learn all about ballet and see a short performance. Around 50 kids turned out to one of 3 events at the Palm Shopping Centre, where Joseph and Bronte have major parts in this year's show of A Midsummer Night's Dream Ballet, both being with the Royal New Zealand Ballet for 5 years, and they say it's great to perform for the kids.
It's definitely nice. That's why we do it. We perform to entertain people, and it's good to see the younger generation getting involved as well. It's positive. It makes us realise it's why we do it.
Because I loved anything active as a young kid, and then just sort of never stopped really. It all kind of worked out, and here I am.
And Bronte says this style of dance has been a big part of her life from a very young age, starting at 5 years old.
I always wanted to because I saw my first ballet when I was very young, and it kind of inspired me, and I always wanted to move like that, and I feel like it's something you can do and express yourself without words, so it's pretty cool what we do.
Pagan completed her dance training in London before moving to New Zealand to teach educational dance lessons through the Royal New Zealand Ballet.
To promote our next production, which is A Midsummer Night's Dream, and it's a brand new ballet being choreographed by an Englishman called Liam Scarlett. He used to be a dancer with the Royal Ballet, and now he's an artist in residence there.
The production has never been done before by this organisation, and Joseph says he was ready for the challenge.
It's a brand new production, which is exciting, and the choreographer is really great. Liam Scarlett is over from Royal Ballet, so he's very sought after and a great choreographer. It's also hard because you're learning new stuff, and it's very stressful when you pick it up fast and he moves very quick, but I think it's going to come together. It'll be a great show.
And Bronte agrees.
It's very challenging steps and performing wise, so I think the adults can appreciate that and the effort and hard work we put in, and also the costumes are just incredible. I've never seen anything like it before, so I think that'll really draw the children in as well, so I'm really looking forward to this one.
But Pagan says it will have ballet fans excited around the city to see a new look show.
Everything is new, choreography, costumes, sets, the whole way he's treating the story is brand new. There's also been some rearrangement of the music for the production.
Pagan believes there's still a lot of interest in ballet in New Zealand and with children.
I think there's still a lot of children, especially girls, who do want to be ballet dancers, and a lot of that has got to do with the outfits and what they get to wear.
But she says other styles of dance are giving young ones more alternatives, which could be a concern.
Because of the kind of influx of hip hop, there's a lot of kids that want to do that type of dancing. But we still get, like at the event today, there were 50 kids all in their little ballet outfits. So there are still a lot of kids that want to be ballet dancers.
It's good that they show an interest as well into what we do, not just the shows themselves, but the behind the scenes stuff as well. There's a lot that goes in that you don't see before we get to stage, so it's good to hear they're interested in that as well.
The Isaac Theatre Royal will see 4 shows on their stage starting at the end of August. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. Well, did you have your say on our national flag? Well, submissions closed last night, and it's estimated nearly 10,000 entries have been received.
It is expected that there will be nearly 10,000 flag submissions when the final count is tallied this weekend. At last night's midnight deadline, the flag consideration panel received more than 9,100 submissions. The panel said, as expected, hundreds of designs came in just ahead of the deadline, and the designs have predominantly used white, blue and red colours with symbols and themes reflecting the Southern Cross, koru, fern and Māori culture. The panel will select between 50 and 75 designs by mid-August, and a final list of 4 will be named in September. These 4 options will be used in the referendum to see whether or not New Zealand wants one of them in the place of the current flag. The submitted designs can be viewed on flag.govt.nz. So far, more than 820,000 people have viewed the designs online, and 6,000 people have attended the panel's National Roadshow workshops.
Well, still to come here on CTV News, sport and your region's weather. Welcome back, and now here's Gordon Finlater with a preview of the weekend's sport.
It's just a matter of hours now until the All Blacks return to Christchurch for the first time in over 2 years, with their opening rugby championship match against Argentina headlining a massive weekend of sport in the city. A string of Crusaders will front for the All Blacks in front of their home crowd, with Owen Franks, Luke Romano, Richie McCaw, Kieran Reid, Dan Carter and Israel Dagg all named in the starting 15. Meanwhile, it could be a night to remember for Crusaders hooker Cody Taylor, who looks set to make his All Black debut from the bench. White Crockett, Andy Ellis, Colin Slade and Ryan Crotty may also get the chance to play on their home turf, all named in the reserves. Tonight's match will be a great chance for many fringe players looking to stake a claim for the Rugby World Cup squad as the team build up to the tournament. Tonight's game kicks off at 7:35 from AMI Stadium. Well, the Davis Cup tie between New Zealand and India continues over the weekend, with tomorrow seeing the two countries' doubles pairings battle in a best-of-5 sets contest before the tie concludes with the two reverse single matches on Sunday. Action on both days begins at 2 p.m. Well, it's down to the business end of the season for Metro Rugby, with semi-finals taking place around Christchurch tomorrow. The Hawkins Trophy semi-finals see top qualifiers and Hawkins Cup winners Lincoln University at home to New Brighton, while Marist Albion host Christchurch. The plate competition sees Sydenham host High School Old Boys, while University are at home to Sumner. And in the bowl comp, Linwood host Belfast, while Burnside are at home against Shirley. And finally tonight, it's the biggest game yet in this year's UC Championship secondary school rugby competition. The top two sides square off tomorrow afternoon when defending champs Christchurch Boys High School take on undefeated St Andrews. It's all to play for, with the winner set to be odds-on to qualify at the top heading into the competition's playoffs. Tomorrow's game kicks off at 2:15 from St Andrews College, with match coverage right here on CTV this Sunday at 12:30. You're up to date with the latest in local sport. I'm Gordon Findlater for CTV Sport.
Thanks, Gordon. Now it's time for your region's weather. An overcast day today in Christchurch with some sun beaming through here and there, and just slightly warmer than yesterday. But let's take a look at the other temperatures around the region. South Canterbury 10 degrees on the coast today, from Waimate up to Geraldine, just 9 for Twizel. In central Canterbury now, 11 degrees was shared for Christchurch, Leeston, Ashburton and Methven, and then the other two here both sharing 10 degrees. As I said, those overcast clouds coming through. North Canterbury, the warmest place to be here was Kaikoura on 12 degrees, 11 degrees around the coast and into Oxford, and then Hamner Springs on a low 9 degrees today. And then in the Alpine region, just 6 for Arthur's Pass. Now, for Saturday, this is where it's going to be very, very interesting. Look at that, rain, just what we want. Southwesterly winds as well, -2 degrees will start the day, and 9 will be your high for Timaru. Into Ashburton now, -1, it will start your day. Again, the heavy rain will come through with 8 degrees being your high. Southwesterly winds for Christchurch and the rain too. You don't get into the negatives though, just 1 degree and 9 will be your high. And in Kaikoura, the warmest place to be tomorrow on 11 degrees, but there will be rain and southwesterly winds. They've really made themselves at home, haven't they? Tomorrow's weather for the rest of the region, South Canterbury, -2 is shared by Temuka and Geraldine. As we go into central Canterbury now, southwesterly winds for many places here, but just southerly winds for Methven, and a start today on -1 and 9 degrees here for everyone apart from Akaroa. 10 degrees is your expected high. North Canterbury now, southwesterly winds for everyone and heavy rain apart from Amberley. You'll just have some light showers here and there and a high of 10 degrees. And in the Alpine region, snowy skies here and there with some southerly winds as well. The upcoming days now for the major centres. Let's go to Sunday, shall we? It's looking a wee bit better. Some cloudy skies for Timaru, Ashburton and Kaikoura. Some sleety showers here and there for Christchurch and a high of 6. As we flip over to Monday, the sun will come through for Timaru and Ashburton, and cloudier skies for Christchurch and Kaikoura. 11 for Kaikoura as well, and calm skies for the rest here and there. Next few days now for the rest of the region. It starts off all right in South Canterbury, some cloudy skies, but as we go further north, that rain will start coming through and some sleety showers as well. Southwesterly winds flip over to Monday when the kids go back to school, and this is what you get. Sun, great, fantastic, all the way up. Some calms, winds down in South Canterbury. Everywhere else, though, those southwesterlies will be around. So tomorrow, I say, is a board game day, and I've got Twister all ready to go. But that is your weather for now. And that's CTV News. Have a great evening.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.